With the Berlin engine, the Mustang became a far more effective high-altitude fighter, and that was of great benefit to the American heavy bombers operating from stations in East Anglia, the likes of the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, one of which we're going to see next on the programme, which is just warming its engines. These aeroplanes playing an enormously important role in the eventual Allied success in the European theatre. And tribute to them is paid by this airworthy example, Boeing B-17G Flying Fortress Sally B. It's so important that this aircraft keeps flying as an airworthy memorial to the men of the US 8th and 9th Air Forces who were stationed in the United Kingdom during World War II, because their exploits truly were legion. It was the Royal Air Force that first took the B-17 to war in the European theatre. It did so disastrously. Number 90 Squadron was the first to operate the Fortress 1, and their maiden raid was to Wilhelmshaven on the 8th of July 1941. By that September, daylight raids had been abandoned by RAF Bomber Command, and 8 of those first RAF B-17s had been lost. As you may have seen with it open on that orbit, typical bomb loads between 4.5 and 8,000 pounds depending on the mission. Conditions on board these heavy bombers at altitude were pretty appalling. It was extremely noisy, it was very cold up there. The crew members had little in the way of armour plating or personal protective equipment, and of course there was always that ever-present threat of enemy action, whether from anti-aircraft fire or enemy fighters. And this final part of the display, with smoke on to simulate 2 damaged engines, a condition in which so many B-17s return from missions, is always used to salute the many members of the Sally B Supporters Club. So we're just resetting the schedule now. The graceful and wonderful Sally B coming in. Do give the crew a wave as always, won't you? It's marvellous to see so much support for Sally B around the country, and your generous appreciation will go down well with crew and of course with Ellie Salinger as well. But the Catalina will be called back in very, very shortly, and then of course just to remind you that right after that at 2:30 will be our home team, the Red Arrows. So Peter Cowpers and Phil Tollett rolling out after a splendid performance in Sally B, but here comes the Catalina in from the left.